Hello and welcome to the Arsenal BiteSize Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at ClaytonAFC on Twitter, and just like the other day, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm not joined by FPL Nima. I'm joined by another guest. It's Finn at FinnAFC on Twitter. How you doing, mate? Good to have you back.
All good. Thank you for having me again. Can't wait to talk about it. It's probably one of my favourite Arsenal trips I've ever done. So always good to
Nice.
recap.
All right, that's a fucking big claim to start with. So for context, for people that haven't listened to this series before, it's only our second episode of it, but it's called the Arsenal Archives. And it's what it says on the tin, kind of. We interviewed different Arsenal fans about a memorable experience physically going and watching the Arsenal. We're trying to keep it to away games. Obviously, we did the first episode with yourself, Finn, where we did the 2017 FA Cup final. But this one is, you've just said, one of your favourite ever trips. So it's Valencia away in the Europa League semi-final, the 18-19 campaign under Emery. Take it away.
Yeah. Well, as I say, definitely one of my favourite trips I've ever done. And, I always think, to start with, you've not really gone to Arsenal away until you've gone to a European trip. That's what I always say. And it is just, for anyone that's not gone, it really is a different sort of kettle of fish to go into a domestic league away or cup away or whatever you want to call it. And obviously it was a good season for us in the Europa that season. Emery came in with a sort of reputation of being a bit of a specialist in the Europa League, and we were all hoping that we would finally, do something in Europe. And it was a good journey. It was a good journey that season. We were doing well in the league as well. I mean, I know we fell away towards the end and we didn't end up getting in the top four, but it was a real, we just kind of got rid of Wenger after all these years, and everyone was kind of, in my opinion, I think everyone was really excited and really, it was like a brave new world. Like, for me, even, like, Wenger came in before I was born. I'd never known anything else. And it was a real excitement to be going away, see a new style of football, see new players. And I think everyone really bought into that. And it was a really enjoyable season, in my opinion, of going to watch Arsenal. I know in the end, it kind of fell away. But I really enjoyed this season as a match-going fan, especially compared to the last season. I mean, the season before, I don't think we won an away game between December and May.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. We obviously won the FA Cup that year, right? So it's like you kind of was that you?
It was a really, the year before, I think, was probably the hardest since I've been going to regularly go away. You were going away, and you knew that we weren't going to win. It didn't matter who we were playing and where they were in the table or whatever. It was very draining. So to be able to get into a season like this where we were going away, putting together better results, better performances. It was a really exciting time to be going to Arsenal.
Yeah, and you said, so I completely agree with something you just said about, I can't remember the specific wordings, but basically, like, it's not an away trip until you've done a European away. And even though it was like I was going to say my first European away was last year in the Europa League against Sporting, and I was about to say it was a meaningless tie. It obviously turned out not to be with how the second leg went. But I can see what you mean. It hits so different, like the kind of traveling abroad. We went into Lisbon and then into Faro and then drove, and it's like, it was just a different vibe. And even went to PSV away in the Champions League just before Christmas. And even that, it was a dead rubber tie, and it was something that I've never experienced before. And so I see exactly what you mean. What was it about this one in particular? Because you've done loads, right? Like I think you've probably skipped what, an average of 2-3 away games a season for the last few years.
I've done quite a few European aways at this point. I don't know. I think obviously the fact it was a semi-final, second leg, the weather was great. People were having a great time. Valencia was a great place. I was speaking to the lads actually recently, and a lot of them were saying, it kind of felt like the rest of the trip almost felt like a lad's holiday in the summer as opposed to a Arsenal away game a lot of the time. You know, we were in the beach clubs, down the beach, in the nightclubs, whatever, bars. Weather was amazing, really hot, sunny. You know, everyone kind of came out and
sangria flowing.
Exactly. It was like a mix between a European away and a great lads holiday all mixed into one. I think that's what made it kind of slightly better than most of the other trips. Not that they weren't good in themselves.
Yeah, fair play. And then, so again, you touched on it like that season. It was a kind of fresh era and everything. Do you remember much about the journey to that semi-final in that campaign?
Yeah. I remember we drew a couple of teams that, you know, sounded tough on paper to where we were at the moment. Like I remember playing Napoli, for example. And we were just kind of dispatching them. I don't want to say with ease, but it was clear we were a lot better than these European teams that we were playing that had a big name and all the rest of it. And I'd kind of noticed that the year before when, you know, I went to AC Milan away and stuff like that. And we kind of won 2-0 at the San Siro. Games like that. I know that campaign collapsed towards the end, but yeah, it was just kind of felt like we kind of almost felt invincible against European opposition.
Yeah. And was that the feeling that you had going into this? Because I think it was 3-1 we took a lead in with, right?
Yeah,
going into the second leg. So like I remember, for once, I actually remember a little bit around context and stuff. For people that are listening, I've got the memory of a goldfish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like first leg, job done. I remember going to a sports bar with an ex-girlfriend actually. It was like, this is like, I usually wouldn't watch such a big game like with a girlfriend. Like I'd usually try to be with mates that are Arsenal fans. But I was like, so jobs are done. So I remember feeling pretty confident, but then obviously we fucking went 1-0 down, didn't we?
Yeah. I think obviously we went 1-0 down in the home leg, and obviously the warning signs were kind of whirring a little bit then. But I think when we had the last minute goal to go 3-1, it was kind of like, you don't want to say you're through, obviously, especially in the semi-final, but you're confident enough.
Yeah, and obviously this one had the added spice. I don't know if I want to say spice, but that lot down the road were in a fucking Champions League semi-final, right?
Yeah.
So, how did that affect your trip, or did it at all? Were you even thinking or bothered about it?
I'd say it affected the trip. I think some people would probably be surprised how much it did affect the trip. And it was kind of the thing where we'd all landed the sort of day before, afternoon before. I met up with all the boys I go with, and we watched it in a bar, the Tottenham Ajax game.
Right.
Which obviously was probably a slight risk in itself. I think a lot of us, including myself, expected Ajax to probably ease past them and get into the final. Ajax,
was this their second leg as well? I can't remember.
It was a second leg, It was a second leg. It was that amazing Ajax team that kind of just took the Champions League by storm that season.
Yeah.
I mean, and then obviously that game didn't end the best for us with the last minute Lucas Moura dagger. And it really did spoil the first night.
Did it put a dampener on the night then? Yeah.
Yeah, and I won't go into too much detail, but
no, go for it.
Well, it kind of I'd say the bar we were in sort of descended into chaos.
Right.
There was a lot of people doing a lot of stuff. I'm sure that they regretted in the morning, but it really did put a dampener. And I heard, I don't know this for 100%, but people were coming up to me the next day and telling me that they had mates that had got on Skyscanner, booked a flight home, and gone home when the morning of the game because they were so gutted that them lot had got into the Champions League final. And it kind of just felt like, well, they're in the Champions League final, we might be in the Europa League final, even if we sort of win the Europa League. If they win the next few days the Champions League final, it would kind of just be completely irrelevant.
Yeah. How did you feel the morning after when you woke up? Like, were you excited at the prospect of Arsenal potentially getting to the Europa League final? Or were you just clouded by what happened? in
I
Amsterdam.
think it kind of sent people one of two ways. It either sent you into sort of spiral where you were so depressed that you flew home, which is what I was hearing about, or the fact that the first night was so, it was put such a dampener on the first night. It was almost a reaction to that. On the second day, the day of the game, like people were really keen to this is how I felt, to go out, have a good time,
Yeah.
go to the match, hopefully we win, make a load of noise in the ground. Like it kind of, I think, because it raised the sort of
The stakes of it, I guess.
Yeah, it raised the stakes, and it kind of got everyone more sort of pumped up and emotional for a game where we were already 3-1 up, and it could have kind of petered out, I guess, in terms of excitement.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, we really need to sort of get through this, at least get into this final. If they're in the Champions League final and we don't even get to the Europa League final, it'll be an absolute disaster. And I think everyone was kind of pumped up and wanted to help the players kind of get through. That's how I felt about it. I don't know if people agree, but
yeah, no, fair play. It's good to get your opinion on it because, again, like, to be honest, as much as I remember where I watched the second leg of ours, I remember watching the Tottenham Ajax game and obviously being gutted, but I can't remember much around like how did I feel on the day of our game. Like all I remember is just watching our game in a sports bar. I mean, buzzing we were in the final, but I'm sure in that moment, like, I remember watching the Champions League final. I mean, like, thank fuck for that. But context around it is something that's escaped me. In terms of the actual, like, rewinding a little bit, the experience of kind of had you ever been to Valencia before? Was it a new city for you?
I'd never been to Valencia at that point. I don't think I've been since either. But
what was that like compared to your Madrids, your Barcelonas?
I really liked Valencia as a city, and as I've got a little bit older, I've tried to, on a European away, always take a couple of hours to have a walk around and see what's there, because it's very easy to fly somewhere, spend the entire time in like an Irish pub, go to the game, go to the airport and fly home. And you I've done that on several occasions. You don't see any of the city. So I do try to go and have a look around. And I'd say it's probably one of the best places in Spain that I've seen. It's a really nice city, and I always recommend people go there if they're looking for somewhere to go in Spain.
Nice, fair play. And then the actual stadium is the Mestalla, right? What was that?
Yeah, the state. I still maintain it's probably the best stadium that I've been to.
Oh wow! What made it? What made it the best one?
It's not got any modern amenities or anything like that, but it's a very unique stadium. The stand was really, really steep. It was like that.
Jesus.
And you could even see it from the outside, and you thought, I don't know how that's going to work, but you got in there, and it just, I don't know, I think it was the classic Spanish style with the no roof and the, as I say, very steep stands, and everyone kind of clumped in together. All the stands are kind of slightly unique and different, and great view of the city from the top of the away end. We were obviously up in the gods.
Sounds beautiful.
It was really nice. We had a nice sunset during the game, and weather was great. Just all together, really nice ground. As I say, I'd recommend anyone go and visit that ground as well.
What was the like, you've described the steepness of it. I'm imagining, like, I see pictures sometimes of Euro aways where it's like so steep that you literally feel like if we score and you over celebrate, you're fucking dead, mate. Like, you could go tumbling. Like, what was that like? If you could describe that.
That was absolutely the case at Valencia. And I mean, even you've got to think, in most Premier League grounds, the seat in front of you has got like a back of the seat.
Yeah.
In Valencia and Sevilla was the same this season. The seat in front of you hasn't got a back. And it's really steep, so
it flattens with the next row, right?
Yeah, it's just like a plastic square on the ground.
Yeah,
that's what the seat is. So obviously, if you're not careful, you just go straight over that first one. Then it's kind of like a roll in, and especially in Valencia, how steep it was. I remember kind of going flying for goals, and everyone was kind of grabbing each other and trying to make sure people didn't fall over. Everyone's kind of had a lot to drink that day as well. So.
Yeah, no, fair play. And then could you talk me through the day of the game? So you touched on it earlier. Obviously, woke up, like, for you didn't want the Tottenham game to kind of cloud your experience of the day.
No,
So
no.
you said there was a lot of drinks consumed. How did you spend the day in the lead up to the game?
I left the hotel and I was about a 15-20 minute walk from the area that everyone was drinking. We kind of drank in the same area the night before and the day of the game. For me, I kind of like to get up a little bit earlier and use that time to have a look around Valencia and see what it's like. So I spent the first couple of hours just walking around, looking at the famous sites, whatever. I went down to the beach, blah, blah, blah. And then, everyone kind of amalgamated together about midday. We got outside a bar, started
What time
ordering
was
drinks.
kickoff? Was it 5 or 7 or 8?
It will have been 9 p.m. their time.
Neither of them.
Yeah. Met up with all the lads that I go over and stuff, and just from there, just the drinks start flowing. The songs come out. Start making up silly new songs that always, don't leave European aways. That's another thing about European aways. You just kind of, there's so many chants you make up in there. They're quite silly, some of them, and they just never make it back to the UK. Like
I was going to ask, did any of the songs that we sing now get birthed in Valencia?
Oh, I don't think so. There was quite a few Europa League specific songs for that year that were probably sang in Baku by some people, but never.
Did you go to Baku?
No, I didn't. No. The issue I had, I could only afford to go to either the semi or the final.
Right.
So I kind of prioritized going to the semi. So I thought, there was a chance I could have not gone to the semi and still not been able to afford to go to Baku anyway.
Right. Okay.
So I kind of thought, let me just go to the semi. Baku was ridiculous. I mean, the fact it was allowed to be held there was just
that was bonkers. Like, I think some of the stuff I was hearing is like it cost people $1,000 to get there. Like,
I think I was looking into it, and it was very few people spent under sort of $2,000 total.
That's insane. That's absolutely bonkers.
But it was a crazy place to have a final. I mean, it's not in Europe for starters.
Yeah,
it's not in Europe. The fact that one of our players was not allowed to enter the country again.
How was that? Wasn't it?
Yeah. How is that fair? That's just not right, in my opinion. It was a complete farce that it was in Baku. Obviously, money talks at the end of the day, I guess. But
no, exactly. Yeah. No, it's just trying to rewind to you're singing in the square and everything. Did you ever come across did Valencia have ultras or anything? Did they give you any trouble as fans? What were they like? Because I imagine they weren't pleased with a second leg starting 3-1 down. Like that can't be.
No, they weren't
pleased.
And I'll be honest, the only time I actually saw Valencia fans was when we were walking into the ground, and it was very hostile. It just reminded me there was kind of like a little corridor where everyone was walking through to the away end, and there was Valencia fans on both sides, and people were throwing shit, spitting at us.
Fucking hell.
Putting it on us, everything. Yeah, I'd completely forgot about that until just now. It was a bit of a risky run through they'd all kind of congregated outside the stadium, and it was kind of almost like they were almost tailgating in the way you see in America, where they were all had their cans and their food and whatever, and they were stood outside the ground.
Yeah.
Because as I say, we hadn't seen any all day, so we thought.
Yeah, and then they all just congregate
kind of
out the away end.
That they were all outside the stadium. Yeah.
Do you see any trouble, or was it all good?
Low level.
Yeah.
Nothing silly.
You've seen worse.
Yeah. I've seen worse. Yeah.
Fair play. And then
they were probably trying to be intimidating to a certain extent, but we've all been to a lot more intimidating places. So it was no skin off anyone's back that goes regularly away in Europe.
Yeah, fair play. And then when the game starts, what's the mood like in the stadium when we actually go 1-0 down? How are you feeling?
To be honest, I mean, I always say this. I got into the away end about half an hour before the game, and everyone had already got to the seats and was chanting, and it was a great atmosphere. And I thought, I've rarely have I ever seen that at an Arsenal game where people have got in so early. It's gone constant from like 45 minutes, half an hour before kickoff. Everyone, you could tell, was really excited. I don't know if the drink had a part to play in that, or the weather, or as I say, it was all kind of an amalgamation of stuff that made it a really good trip. But I don't remember anyone being too downcast when we conceded the first goal. It kind of felt like we were on top of them, and obviously it's turned out well. But yeah, I just remember everyone just chanting, as I say, a few new songs going around that had been created kind of during the trip. And yeah, it was a really good, really, really good atmosphere. I don't remember too much about the home atmosphere, and I do seem to remember there was a few empty seats sort of near the away, and I don't know if that was by some sort of rule or design, which does sometimes happen. But yeah, it was. We were definitely making a lot of noise, and I think the players could definitely hear us, even though we were right up in the gods.
Yeah, fair play. Like I said to you just before we started, I actually rewatched the highlights just to remind myself, and I actually forgot Aubameyang got a bloody hat trick. And it's the same thing. Like, that goal, the first goal he scored from outside of the box, like outside of the foot. Yeah. Even that, like I watch it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that now, but I forgot about that before. He was unreal in that game.
I was him and Lacazette. Great link up in both legs of the tie. Yeah, it's just, I think that's kind of what carried us during that period. Because if you look at the rest of the sort of team that lined up during that period, it's nothing special. Even Mesut Ozil at that point had kind of dropped off.
Yeah, can you remember the starting 11 for that game?
Probably roughly, yeah. I think it was definitely obviously Aubameyang and Lacazette were kind of playing up front together, weren't they? In that sort of typical Emery way with the two strikers. Mesut Ozil in behind. Would have been Granit and Torreira.
Yeah.
Midfield 2. Kolasinac, wing back. Maitland-Niles, wing back on the other side.
Yeah. He got a good assist for one of them.
Yeah. Then it would have been Mustafi, Socrates, and Koscielny, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and then Petr Cech in goal.
Yeah, well, see, it's weird. Like, even when we did the FA Cup final one, like, I do look back at those teams, and I'm like, I don't think they're as bad as some people make out. Like, even that team you just read out, I don't think it's awful.
No, I think for me, it's a defense. Like, I don't think not one of that back five, gets anywhere near the sort of 18 even now. Never mind the starting lineup. Maybe Koscielny on a good day might get on the bench, but
yeah, that's true. To be fair, the level now is just outrageous. Isn't
it?
Yeah,
of course.
I used to rate Koscielny quite highly, but like the game goes on. It's obviously a bit of a yo-yo. I can't remember. Like, they went 1-0 up, and then was it 1-1 and then 2-1 to us? I can't actually remember, but it fluctuated, and then we go on and get the win 4-2, and then we're laughing. What were the celebrations like that night?
Oh, brilliant. I mean, everyone was singing We're on our way to Baku and all the rest of it. And we just, obviously a lot of us will end up not going, but we were just so happy to be in a European final. His first European final since that Champions League.
In 2006,
2006, yeah. So I've been waiting, 13 years. To be honest, my overriding memory from after the game, obviously, if you haven't been to Europe before, they usually hold you in the away end for, I'd say, between an hour and 2 hours, depending on where you are. Which gave us enough time to try and get signal on our phone and find out who we'd be playing in the final.
Okay.
And Chelsea were playing Eintracht Frankfurt in the other semi, and it went to penalties. And anyone that could kind of get a stream up on their phone had about 50 people crowded around them watching the penalties.
That's mad. Were you around someone that actually managed to get it on their phone? Then
yeah. So I watched the penalties. It was a bit laggy and a bit sort of managed to watch it. Obviously, everyone's hoping and praying that it's going to be Eintracht Frankfurt to get through.
Yeah. What was the
No
reaction like?
disrespect to them, obviously, but
Yeah, but like to be fair, I'm interested in that. What was the reaction like when you were watching it live and it's like you're on such a high having seen us get to the
yeah,
final, but then the opponent you don't want gets in? Did that damage a blow at all? Or?
I don't think that's something I really thought about until I got home.
Yeah.
I think I was so happy with the day and the game and stuff at the time, and we kind of went back and had a great time at the beach club afterwards. I don't remember. I probably had like a couple of minutes where I was like, oh, no, we've got Chelsea instead of Frankfurt. That's not ideal. But then it kind of went out of my mind very quickly. And, you're kind of occupied doing other stuff. So, yeah, it would have been when I got home where it really dawned on me that we were playing Chelsea. But
Yeah.
I was remembering back and I had a strange confidence we beat Chelsea in that game. I don't know what it was based
Oh, really?
on. Yeah, I really don't. Even the day of the game, I really was like, remember calling a couple of Chelsea mates and going, yeah, I really think we're going to beat you today. And I'm not normally like that either.
Interesting. Okay. How levered were
Yeah.
you? To be fair, I felt similar. I don't know what like. Maybe it is just bias, but like on the day of the final, I was like, yeah, we're gonna do them, and then, yeah, like this is meant to be a positive pod, so we won't fucking talk about the final. Let's leave that for another one. But, yeah, is there anything else that you want to cover that we might not have spoken about before we get out of here?
Yeah, no, just no. As I say, it was one of my best trips I've done. I flew to Madrid and back, and I got to.
How far is Madrid from Valencia?
The train was about 3 hours. One of those really high speed ones you get in Spain, no
Right.
stops, nothing. So I woke up early the next morning, got the train back to Madrid, and I wasn't flying until about 10 p.m. So had a nice day to roam around Madrid. Went to the Bernabeu.
Nice.
Did a
Stadium tour or
like
just
that.
saw it from outside?
Stadium tour, all the rest of it. Yeah, it was a really good day. I hadn't been to Madrid that I could remember. I think I might have gone when I was a little kid, but yeah, that was nice to go and see that. And it's kind of like you're getting 2 trips in one almost then, because you're getting the whole day in Madrid.
Yeah.
Still on that high, great weather, and it was just a great time to be alive, really.
Yeah, what a trip. Hopefully we'll have a few more. Obviously, you said you're going Bayern away in the Champions League this year. So hopefully I'll be joining you there. Find out next week if tickets drop down to my level. But
yeah, just hopefully, hopefully we can get through. I mean, this is the kind of thing where, like Valencia, where it's the second leg, if you don't get through, that could quite easily ruin your whole trip.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas, you go for a first leg, even if you lose by the odd goal, you're not out of the tie and you kind of still enjoy yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, just to summarize, I'll go for it.
No, it should be good in Munich. I'm hearing a lot of people going over, so yeah, it could actually end up being one of the epics if we go through with so many people going over, ticketless, everything. Atmosphere should be fantastic.
Oh, I really fucking hope I get a ticket now. Well, just before we get out of here, if you had to summarize, I asked this when we did the FA Cup final one. What would you say was the highlight of this trip for you?
I would say the highlight of the trip was probably being in the beach club after the game. Everyone kind of got down there. Everyone was letting off pyros, fireworks. Nice. We were singing all the songs we made up during the trip. Ray Parlour was actually in there as well.
No way.
All of
course he was.
Yeah, which was the
Cobra bomb in hand.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that was probably the most fun sort of couple of hours I had on the trip.
Oh, class. Oh, nice one. Thanks a lot for jumping on. And
no worries. Pleasure to be here again.
Yeah, cheers, man. I'm sure we'll be doing a few more of these.
Yeah.
Hopefully one this season. You never know. But yeah, for anyone that's been watching live, please drop the stream a like, hit the subscribe button so you get more of these. And for anyone listening on podcast, please drop us a review so other Arsenal fans can discover content like this. I don't know when we'll be back, but we'll be back sometime next week. Try to do something else before we go to City. You'll be going there, right?
Yeah, I'll be there. Easter Sunday, a massive game. So
yeah, fingers crossed. No, nice one. Thanks a lot, Finn. And
Cheers,
as mentioned before, if you want, you can follow Finn at FinnAFC on Twitter. And like I also said before, he's private, so he might reject you, but chuck in the request. Nice one. Cheers, mate. Up the Arsenal.
Cheers, mate. Nice one.